hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias, joined as always by Christy Cash, Anna Burns, and Mike Benelli. You know, we talk about hockey development a lot on the show. It feels like every episode we're saying hockey development. We always talk about how it's got to be fun, but you can't get away from hockey development. So today, we thought we'd bring in an NHL director of player development to help us discuss what this looks like at the pro level. That's what we brought in for you today. We're thrilled to welcome Riley Armstrong, Director of Player Development for the Philadelphia Flyers, who was personally recommended to us by Flyers GM Danny Brière. That's not something you get to say every day. Riley's path from undrafted pro to bench boss to leading prospect development offers a masterclass in how players actually grow. So we're going to dig into his journey, why he chose coaching, and what really moves the needle for youth players, parents, and coaches, which is our primary audience, which is awesome. Riley, welcome to Our Kids Play Hockey.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Great intro, too. I love it.
Thank you, brother. I take a lot of pride in those. We try and do a good job. I know the audience appreciates it, too. They want to know who we're talking to, right? They want to know.
Me too. So I always appreciate those.
Yeah, this is like Mike's alarm clock on Monday morning. Who are we talking to? Riley, before we dive into everything you do in the NHL, let's just talk about your hockey journey and maybe the short version from your playing days to the moment you knew, you know what, I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, and that's the direction I'm gonna go in. What pulled you from the bench door to the whiteboard?
I don't know. I think growing up, my mom was my dad played like senior hockey in Saskatchewan and bounced around a little bit in that. And my mom still is a figure skating coach and power skating coach since she was 18. So going on, 50 years. And my brother, my sister, and I, we just lived at the rink. Whether we were all figure skating, we were all had our hockey skates on and gear. But I think it's kind of my mom that most definitely kind of led me into that coaching path with everything that she's done. And I go to the rink, her office, and she's coaching, she's teaching kids, she's doing figure skating, power skating. She's running camps in the summertime for kids to teach them how to skate. And that's what I saw. I just see it constantly of like coaching, teaching, and then on the other side of it, just kids learning, parents learning. And I think that's what kind of drove me a little bit into that, coaching area after I was done playing.
Yeah, Riley, you're probably still in the right era, and it sounds like your mom too. Of that back in the day, like that figure skating piece was such a huge portion of learning how to skate. I think right now we get hockey. I do a lot of work with the NHL and their learn to play program. And sometimes we just get kids, like we call them flippers and floppers, right? That they don't really have a core skating dynamic in place before they get the hockey stuff on. So could you just talk a little bit about, like, for a parent that's coming on new? I remember like when I grew up in a figure skating environment, right? So I grew up with coaches that taught moves in the field. That was like moves in the field, that was pre-power skating. That was how to use an outside edge, how to hold an inside edge, turn your body and hold your weight. And, it was really a figure skating piece. But can you talk a little bit about the influence of your mother and the figure skating community on kind of, building that base of skating because of the focus on your blades?
Yeah. For myself, I think it's hard for a boy, a boy who's playing hockey to legit put on figure skates, wear the tight pants with, maybe some sparkles on them with like a shirt. And I did that. I did that from grade 3 to probably grade 10 is when I quit. Maybe right around grade 9, grade 10-ish area. But I was doing the competitions. I was traveling all over Western Canada, competing against other kids my age or older. And I think that takes a lot to do. Number one, kids are making fun of you, like pretty standard. You walk in a locker room, that's going to happen. But when you're really diving into like the skating part and understanding it, there's so many of these coaches now that they're skills coaches. They teach you how to shoot. Another guy teaches you how to stick handle. And parents get so drawn to that side of it that they don't go to the figure skating people in their youth area or their local area at the figure skating rink and say, I want to work with that coach to work on my skating, to understand everything, Mike, that you were talking about, the outside edge, the inside edge, how to forward skate, transition to backward skating, how to have your shoulders level as you're skating. A lot of kids fall down when they turn, and it's not because their skates aren't sharpened. It's because their upper body isn't held in a proper way. So they fall down. And then you see their parents at the Sparks machine after hit and play thinking it's their skates, so there's so many things that the skating part of it leads to, like the stick handling, the shooting. Like if you can't skate in general, then your child's dream or aspirations of, playing junior hockey or college hockey or whatever it may be, go down quite a bit if you don't have that skating base within your game.
Right. And that's a great point. A lot of parents are quick to blame the skates, the blades, rather than the skill. But I encourage any parent, if you have any doubt, just sit there and watch kids skating, and you can pick out the kids who've spent time honing their skills, their edges, their strides. You can see the difference. So getting that basic skating, learning that basic skating, great point, Riley, essential.
Yes. The other part that I like drives me up the wall a little bit, and I think it's fun. I think it's fun for the kids. You see all those summer tournaments, right? And like every weekend, a family's going out and they're spending, I don't know how much money it is to go to Toronto, Boston, St. Louis, Las Vegas, hotels, food for your family. Like personally, I would rather take all that money and I would go invest it. If I would call it an investment. I would invest it into my kid and pay for power skating lessons over traveling. I think it's a great experience, if you want to do a family vacation to Las Vegas while, your two kids playing in a tournament there, that's cool. But I see a lot of families, they're doing it almost every weekend. And, number one, I think it's good for a kid to have a break and also the mom and dad to have a break away from the rink. But number two, you're putting so much money out there and it's kind of going into the wrong bucket that I would probably call it, instead of, investing it in different areas.
Riley, you talk about this all the time. It sounds like, we could play this over and over, but can you maybe talk a little bit about like you're working with pro athletes in the same time, right? Like this is like, we're talking about youth players, and I think you meant, and we fall to like, oh, it's money. It's, if I took that $1,500 I spent on last weekend's tournament and put it towards my kids. But I think at the pro level, it's really not about money. It's unlimited money. They can pay whatever they want. So would you say that for a parent to look at it as, like you're saying, an investment of their time? Like there's only so much time you have. If you give up, like I always use the example, like if a kid's going on a tournament and I'm training him, I'm probably losing Thursday training, probably losing Friday training. I'm losing Saturday training, Sunday training, and Monday they're exhausted. So when are you training? Like when are you traveling to go play 12 minutes of hockey somewhere in a different state, but instead of the time? And again, it's because I'm in Fairfield County, Connecticut. I mean, we're in the North here. Like for a lot of hockey families, money is not the issue, but it has to be time. Like when do you get your development? So you talk about a little bit, like when you have a pro come to you, obviously, there's financial pieces, but you're training players with limited windows of time. You just talk about how important that is for a youth hockey player to use that time on their skating.
Yeah. Like you said right there, you explained it like perfect. So that pretty much they get to the rink Tuesday and Wednesday, then they're back out traveling again on Thursday to get to their next tournament. So I think when the kids start coming up, you'll experience burnout for the most part from kids, but also parents. I think it's crazy throughout the course of a season at the youth level. When I'm coaching my son's team, you'll see parents start to fight in the crowd. And I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, the ref had a bad call or this team's winning or that. I think the parent is so frustrated and tired that they need a breather. And I think that stems to like all the yelling and the fighting. If the parents had like a 2-week break where the parents shut down and they got kind of refreshed, caught up on some sleep, you would probably see a better parent at the rink as well. But at the pro level, I talk about the window of opportunity. So when a player signs an entry level contract, they essentially have 3 years to chase that dream. And over the course of those 3 years, there's 3 more drafts. There's 21 new draft picks. More guys are coming up, and now they're coming to take your job. So your window of opportunity of your development, you have like 2 summers essentially to say, hey, this is what I got. And the summertime is where you make your biggest gains, whether it's in the gym, right? You're training, you're looking to put on 10 pounds or 5 pounds, or you're looking to get more explosive or stronger or work on your skating to get you to that next level. And then you have those 3 seasons to kind of showcase yourself. Do you get another contract, or does the new player move in and take your spot? And that's where we always call it, you got to invest in yourself. You even as a pro, you got to take the time in the summertime to really dive into it and do it. But I think it stems at the youth level too. If you just floor it all the time in hockey and you don't play lacrosse, soccer, basketball, flag football, whatever it may be, you're losing out on so many little development pieces that maybe your kid's not a hockey player. Maybe he joins basketball and he's like an unbelievable basketball player or a baseball player. But it's good for kids to kind of figure it out. But then so many different tools come with it. Hand-eye coordination, your footwork in football or basketball, swinging a golf club. That's why probably so many hockey players are good at golf. Danny, who mentioned me, Danny's a phenomenal golfer. But like a lot of it, like it goes in with what you're doing. So I think it's really important of that piece for kids at the youth level and parents, but also at the pro level is we want them to do so many different things. I think the coolest part when I walk in the gym in the summertime and I see pros training like our guys, and they're doing like somersaults. They're doing all these different things of how to move their body. If they fall down, how to protect themselves as they hit the boards and another 210-pound guy's falling on them. All that like little things that I think a lot of people don't realize that they do. Like you're looking over there, like this guy's doing a somersault on a mat, but they're working at different areas of their body. So it's pretty fun to watch.
Right. I got to share a story because this just happened. My girlfriend, her son, 9 years old, all in hockey. This family is all about hockey. So his friend invited him out to the golf course. Hey, Donato, come with me, hit a couple of golf balls. I've got a pros working, 9 years old, and there's a pros teaching the kids. Donato picked up the golf club. He hits the ball. He got a hole in one.
No way.
Hole.
He needs to stop playing golf right now, Christy.
He made the paper, okay? Because no one could believe this little hockey kid on his first try, something golfers have dreamed about all their lives, right? And he's like, yeah, so what's next? So yes, parents, get your kids out there. They do make great golf players. But try something else. It might surprise you. Might even make the local press.
I'll tell you what's next, Christy, is he's going to be chasing that hole in one for the rest of his natural life to try and do it again at that age. But no, listen, this is one of the funny things I like to talk about on our show is just logic and how there's an absence of logic in our sports sometimes. Logic that Riley just brought up, playing multiple sports. Riley, I think there's anything we've talked about ad nauseum on this show from a development standpoint, it's you have got to let your kids play other sports. And I actually think that message is being heard because I hear from people, if we let them play baseball, we let them try track and field. That's number one. I think this is also an apt time. I love that you come on here to talk about figure skating and all these things and invest money in that because people go, really? This guy has an NHL resume. His family has an NHL resume, right? He's got games on his resume, and he does this for a living at the top level. So, yes, if he says to do it, it's probably something you should do. You know, I also wrote on here, too, that I'm heavily involved in youth hockey now, right? I've kind of turned my coaching to that more than the high levels. The best skaters that I see from, we'll just say 8 to 15, almost all have done figure skating at some point, even if it was just a little bit. You just can't replicate that in only hockey. The other thing too, I wrote this down because people always ask me about private lessons, especially the young, where can I get private lessons? I say, find a figure skating coach and work on your skating. Because this is the truth, parents. And Riley, I want you to comment on this. There's, the hard skills in hockey: skating, shooting, passing, hockey IQ. Skating is really the only one. I know rollerblades exist, but there's really nothing like being on the ice and understanding that. That's why if you're going to invest time, is the most important thing. You can work on your hands off the ice. You can work on your shot off the ice. I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but those skills come from off-ice training. The skating portion of it, you just can't fully replicate without great coaching on the ice. So I wrote that down. So parents, especially the ones come up to me, hey, who should I talk to? Go find your local figure skating club and get your kid in there. And look, to tell them the story of Riley. I love that you said your kids made fun of me. Well, you've got NHL games on your resume, Riley. I think you won that argument at the end of the day when they ask you, how did it turn out? Well, let me tell you how it turned out. So I'm just saying that too. If you're going to invest, I just want to echo what you said, Riley. It's so important. Look to that side. And it doesn't mean there's not great hockey skating coaches too. I'm not dismissing that.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just saying that skating, man, we undervalue it. It's got to be 75% of your development at a young age, not 20, not 50. If your kid can skate at a young age, the other stuff will show up later on. If they can't skate when they're 18 and they have they have 150 mile per hour slap shot. There's a movie called Happy Gilmore you should go watch. All right, because that predicts that. Anyway, go, Riley. That wasn't a question, but if you want to comment on that, I'd love to hear.
Yeah. Well, not only myself, but my brother as well, who I think he almost got 500 games.
Yeah.
He figure skated too growing up. It was kind of like if you lived in the house, you were doing both, figure skating, doing that. But I think when you look at the terms of like development, I think if you look at the way that Colby and I grew up, and Colby was more of like the natural gifted hockey player. He did all the things. He's skating with my mom. He's doing this, he's doing that, but he gets drafted to the Western Hockey League. And then he goes on, he's playing. I was never drafted. So I think right there, so many people value getting drafted now that the college landscape has changed. They put all the value into getting drafted into major junior. And then the following year is like the USHL draft. And then they value all that. And they put all their eggs in that basket. Like, I got to get drafted. I want to post it on social media. That's like number one thing that goes through, I think, everyone's head. So I was never drafted to the WHL. So at the time, I'm like, I think maybe college is my route. So I go to some WHL camps. I get cut. I'm playing AAA midget up in Saskatchewan, and I sign on with the team in the BC Junior League. And as I'm driving out there, I stop in to the Kootenay Ice, who are now the Wenatchee Wild. They've moved a couple of times now, but I stop in for training camp, and I made the team. So then I have to make a decision. Am I going to stay at the Western Hockey League at the age of 18, which is pretty old going into junior leagues, or am I going to go to the BC Junior League and then go on to college? And just having being from Western Canada, grew up watching the Saskatoon Blades. I was like, oh, I want to stay. Okay. So I stayed, and it was like I think a risky move, because at 18, that's essentially my NHL draft year, coming out of, my first time playing junior hockey. And so I now, since I quit figure skating, I played 2 years or 3 years of hockey, like full-time committed. And then I played for the Kootenay Ice, got traded in the expansion draft to the Everett Silvertips. And I played 2 years of junior hockey and then undrafted to the NHL and signed with San Jose. So I think a lot of people put so much value into getting drafted and all this stuff. And you never want to be, essentially the best 10-year-old or the best 12-year-old. There's so many guys that were drafted out of Saskatoon or Western Canada in my WHL draft that didn't even play in the league, but they were drafted. And that's where a lot of guys look. I always look at on Elite Prospects, you can go look at drafts. And as you go, the first round, a lot of kids play. The second round, it kind of varies a little bit. You have the hits and the misses, and the third round, and it slowly goes. And I always look back and I feel proud that I beat out so many kids, even to play 2 NHL games, of guys that were drafted but never played a game. Right. And your path might wind and go up and down and everything, but the kids that continue to develop in the summertime, and my dad would always preach that to me, like the summertime, like you got to work in the summertime. And that's kind of where I made my gains and my strides, to be able to go and pass, kids that are essentially developed or matured quicker than I did.
I love this story, Riley. And I'll tell you, the other thing we say a lot on the show is there is no one path, right? And I think a lot of people get the gold in their eyes of, like you're saying, the draft and getting drafted. And that is a path. But if you put all of your eggs into that, which is really, when you think about it, the most unlikely path for most players, right? I know it happens. There are many paths to getting there. And a lot of it comes down to grit, determination, and the work that you put in. I do want to turn our story in reading about you and researching you. It seems like there was a pretty big moment, or maybe a series of moments, where you realized, hey, I'm a coach. Like, I'm going to be a coach. Can you talk about that as a player, as you transition into a coach, and maybe the moment or moments that you realize that's the direction I need to go in?
I think after I would have been, I started to get old. The hockey's a young person's game. So when I got to be about 26, 27, and I started going over.
Very old. Yes. Playing, I'm just teasing.
Very old.
Yeah.
I kind of thought, after all of my experiences of playing in Germany, playing in Russia, playing in Finland, Sweden, every league has a different style, and coaches coach different in all these different leagues. And so I came back to the U.S. in my final year. I was playing for the Reading Royals, and I was already making phone calls to GMs around the league saying, "Hey, I want to be a coach. I think I have these values of, I've grinded in the ECHL, the American League, played in the NHL. I've played over in Europe. I know all these leagues." And I got a phone call from Mark Recchi with the Penguins after I quit playing, and asked if I would be interested in coaching the Wheeling Nailers. And so it kind of went from me playing to instantly stepping in and like being able to coach. And I thought I was like, never heard of Wheeling before, like in wanting to live there. I went there to play, but never to want to live. And it ended up being a great experience for my family, and I made some like lifelong friends there. But I think it kind of goes for my mom. It was like I always had that coaching in my mind of like, running youth camps and running hockey skill camps and all this. Like, I find value in that. You see kids getting better, but it also teaches me on how to break a skill down. If I get on the ice with Tyson Forster and Bobby Brink, and I'm like, "Hey guys, we're going to come in and we're just going to do this, little stick handle thing, and then we're going to shoot." Like, they'll pick it up after like 4 or 5 reps. But when you're talking to a 9, 10, 13-year-old, you have to break the skill down to like where your hands are on your stick, how your wrist moves, how much pressure you put on the puck, how your feet should be moving, your head's up, your hips go like this. So it makes you break the skill down that even talking to guys at the NHL level with those guys, it allows you to kind of like have those open discussions about, hey, how come I'm like, when I'm shooting, I don't feel like I'm getting it here. It's like, well, you're not moving your like hip, or you got to bring the puck in closer to your body, and your feet have to move in to this position to be able to do that. And then they're like, oh, and then you have that communication. I think a lot of people that watch an NHL player, they love to talk about the skill. Like, they want to sit there and like talk and break it down. And then their brain starts to move a little bit more, and they're like, oh yeah, oh, okay, I understand that. Oh, I'm feeling it. And then they start to feel it a little bit more. And realistically, when you're playing the game, it's all about feel and touch and understanding how your body's moving.
Do you think a lot of youth hockey coaches don't recognize that? They kind of gloss over those finer points. They'll get kids up. Here's the drill. Here's how you do it. And that's it. Without breaking it down.
Yeah.
That would make a huge difference.
It does. It does make a huge difference. I think like the biggest part for me was even, my son who was out in Mike development. and the coaches are there at all the stations around the rink, and they're going out and they're just ripping through these cones and then flicking the puck in the net. I was a big believer, so was my mom, was creating good habits. So if you're not the fastest skater, speed will come. But when you turn and you only turn with one foot on the ice because you can't get on your outside edge on your front foot as you're turning, that's going to hurt you as you get older. So I was a big believer in, like, I don't care how fast you're going. I want you to be able to turn the proper way. I want you to be out of your body in a proper way. And if you're the slowest guy on the ice because you're 6, that's cool. I'm totally fine with that. But if you can't turn, and as your speed then picks up when you hit 12, 13, 14, how are you going to turn if you couldn't turn when you're going slow at 6? So those are like the areas that you got to really fine tune and break down and stay on top of.
I'll tell a funny story here, Riley. Mike, Christy, you'll love this too. So again, I'm very blessed to coach a wide variety of teams, and one of them I get to coach is an elementary school team. And just for the audience, this is kindergarten through 4th grade. So that is a massive gap of age and ability. And so one of the things you have to balance is you have 6, 7-year-olds who really are learning to skate against potentially, AA, AAA, 3rd graders, 4th graders. And so one of the things we do is we talk about how they have to teach each other, right? And that's part of the leadership. And we really encourage the older kids to do this, but they can get restless. So last practice, talk about skating, was mostly skating practice, kind of practicing what I preach. And so we did this 4-on-4 game, no sticks, just a gigantic kind of ball that I brought out. And it's funny how hard they skate when you don't put a stick in their hand, and you just tell them to pass this ball. And again, our audience will laugh at this because my pet peeve is young kids skating directly at a defenseman with their stick on the ice and the puck in front of them without protecting the puck. And it's funny, they had the ball and none of them did that. None of them, you didn't skate straight at the guy with the ball. You did all these amazing skating moves. And one of the kids came up to me kind of smiling. He goes, "Hey, when are we playing real hockey?" I said, "You just did. You just did." So I also think that to your question, Christy, like part of the inception of skating is to try it in different ways. Sometimes putting a stick in the hands actually can be a hindrance.
Yeah.
And that when you focus on just the skating, all the skating drills I did at the start, no sticks. But I told them, I said, I want you to act like there's a stick in your hand. Yep. It changed the whole dynamic of edge work and stride work and understanding the mechanics. Suddenly there's no tripod to rely on. So I think that, Riley, too, to your point, like just being a little creative with these kids can really change it. And I also say too, Riley, I love that you said this. It's not about doing it as fast as you can. It's about doing it the right way as fast as you can, right? And sometimes that means going really slow just to get the mechanic down and then speeding up. So many kids want to be at the full 100% right away. And I said, we got to explain to them, you can do this slowly and build up. You don't go from A to Z overnight. It takes time. It takes a long time to cook a hockey player. So turning this into a question, sorry, I'm on a pedestal again. I have too much coffee in the morning. Riley, you talk about the minutia at the NHL level, right? And then also the macro at the youth level. You mentioned communication. Can you talk about maybe both pro and youth, how you communicate to a pro athlete the smallest of things? I read another great article about you about not even just on the ice, but skate size, lacing the skate, these little minute differences that players have. How do you communicate those? Do players give you any pushback, right? Are they like, my skate's fine? Or is it kind of like everyone wants to learn and find a way forward?
I think some guys, like at the NHL level, they've been doing a certain thing for a certain years and they're like, no, it works for me, I'm going to stick with it. Some guys are open to trying new things.
Right.
On my son's team with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms 2015 team, everybody ties their skates a little bit differently. And that's just from me watching them skate. I find skates. So at the youth level, parents go out, they're like, my kid's going to wear the Flylight. Well, I think what a lot of things the parents don't realize is that the Flylight's very stiff skate. So if your son is 60 pounds, he's not even bending the skate. He's essentially like not even getting ankle flexion or anything like that to become a good skater. So for myself, I bought all of my son's skates at Played Against Sports. And the reason why I did that was, number one, cheaper. And number two, the skate was already broken in.
Right.
So when he wore it, you could actually see him bending his ankle, bending his knee, bending his hips. When the skate is so stiff, you can't do it. And then you go to the NHL level. Now you're watching guys skate. And I don't know what they did growing up. Did they work with a figure skating coach? Do they have a power skating? Like, where are they at? So now I'm watching them skate, and I'm like, man, that guy could be a really good skater, but he doesn't even bend his ankle. So then I'm like, I go look at his skate. He has the laces cranked all the way together. It's as tight as possible. It's like he's in a cast. And then I'm like, hey, you should try like loosening your skate, lowering an eyelid, or like moving an eyelid, skipping an eyelid, and like, let's see how much more ankle mobility you have. I laugh about this a ton with Danny, because when Danny played, Danny would take tape and he would wrap it around his ankles, and he would pull the stock over top of the tape. And I'm like, I have no clue how you skated like that. Like, it was like, he's like, yeah, I felt like I was in a ski boot. But it worked for him, right? If I would have went to Danny, hey, take all that tape off and do this, he was like, but my ankles were weak. Like, I needed that support. But like, that's different. I don't think a lot of players even do that now. I've never, through my years of coaching all these levels, I've never seen a guy do what Danny did, like wrapping tape around the ankles. I think that was like a thing back in the day. So like now you're getting like all these different like little fine details of all this different stuff. So I think it varies. It's always nice to talk. There's some kids on my son's team who are like, oh, that doesn't feel right. But after they try it and they kind of stick with it, all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's starting to feel better. They got to get used to it. And I think that's the same thing when you look at an NHL player. They got to you just can't go and try it for 10 minutes and then go, oh no, I don't like it. You got to give it some time and let your body and your brain kind of work through it a little bit.
Yeah, I think at the youth level too, Riley, is like, this is such a great opportunity for coaching players, especially in everybody's kind of accepted the station-based type of format for little kids. And, and as I'm speaking and I'm hearing you, I'm hoping the coaches are like, wow, I could run a station with just, I'm a big, I'm always trying to as the builder of skill, right? Because momentum hides a lot of intricacies in a player, right? If they can get momentum and they're doing their C cuts and they're going down the ice, it's just the momentum of the body that's really carrying them, not their edge ability, right? So if now I'm thinking about, you're running your station, you got your 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds, and you could do more. I know like in USA hockey, it's like a forbidden, like block drills is like, oh my God, you can't do block drills. Like the kids should just be playing and free play, but technique, we can't teach power. We can't teach like all the little nuances of, certainly can't grab a kid and say, hey, listen, do me a favor, mom, go retie your skate this way, come back out again for the next part of the drill. See what you feel like. Like, we have such a great opportunity because of the way we're structuring our practices now to take that little block of 5 kids, bring them all out, retie their skates, bring them back in and give experiment instead of just saying, hey, I don't know, the kid doesn't know. Like, but to Chrissy's point, 98% of youth hockey coaches don't know that. They don't know how to look. Listen, I watched learn to play programs where where a coach is watching a player with the wrong curved stick for 3 weeks. I'm like, do you not see the kid? Do you not see the kids holding the stick in the wrong hand? Oh, I don't know. I'm just running them through the drills, right? Because that's really what we're conditioned to. We're just running them through drills. But to your point, Riley, I mean, it's really a great opportunity for us to step back, look at a drill designed for this. Well, this drill is designed to see where your ankle flexion is, where your edges are, where your knee bend is, and we're specifically telling you we're doing it. And what a great opportunity to react to that and say, wow, and then look down the bench and every single kid has a different, a different lace job, which I guess is hard, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think the crazy part too is like with all these new skate sharpening machines coming out that like people can buy, you can. I had a kid out at my camp this past summer, And when I was watching him glide, it looked like he was like falling backwards. So I went and grabbed his skate, and the profile of his skate, the toe of his blade was thicker than the heel. So he was essentially like skating on his heels, like backwards, like this, but he was like trying to force himself forwards, which is like you're fighting against like your skate, which a kid can't do that.
Right.
So I snap his blade out of his skate. I take it over. I go to the guy at the rink, and I'm like, profile it on your machine to like this number on the profile.
Nice.
And he does that. The kid puts it on, and he like looks over at me like I was like I just walked on water.
You're a wizard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's like people don't look at that. The kids' mom and dad are coming over to me going like, oh my, like this is crazy. Like we're always like, what's wrong with your skates? You're falling down. But it's like you pull the skate out of the box, you put it on, and you go and skate. And you go take it in, they sharpen the skates. But like there's so much stuff that goes into it that like even I didn't even look at it. I was just looking at his body and how he was skating. And I was like, there's like a bunch of red flags are going off. I'm like, if my mom was here, she'd be going nuts right now. Look at
I tell kids all the time, if you walk into a pro shop where you're sharpening, you take them and say yes, run away, grab the skates and run as fast as you can. I can sharpen them, no problem. I mean, and so, but these are like the little things that people just we don't educate, and communicate to our youth hockey coaches and our players, because they just figure, I don't know, Bauer sent me a pair of skates, I go out of the box, I sharpen them, and aren't they sharp? Well, yeah, but your kid is, he weighs, maybe that hollow is not a great hollow for him, or
what's crazy,
that's the beauty about these Sparks machines and the automated machines, right? You can experiment all you want.
And it's not hard to educate yourself. Like we're talking about the educate, like, and again, look, let's just give a real big shout out to all the volunteer coaches real quick. It sounds like we're kind of poo-pooing on you. We're not. You're volunteers. This is not your life, right? This is not what you spend at home. You're not schmucks like us where we sit home and read about this all day, right? But I will say this too, because I can hear the audience. Well, where do I get this education? It's not that far. I mean, you can go online and research this. Sparks does a great job of explaining everything that the Sparks machine does. I will tell everybody too, and Sparks is not a sponsor, but I am a fan, that if you have 3 or 4 skaters in your house, it's worth looking into something like a Sparks. You'll actually end up saving money. And the consistency of the sharpening is what I love about it. Again, there's other options out there. I don't want to only speak for Sparks, but I'm just saying that I love the consistency.
Let's give Pro Sharp a little shout out.
Sure, Mike, there we go. Whoever you want. What I love about
your local pro shops, I got to give.
Well, Riley, especially he's a European guy, so he would know. Like in Europe, it's like crazy, like that, that's how attuned they are to. Like they were way ahead of us on profiling and consistencies and the education around that. And I would say another place you could probably go to is a good podcast to find out about those things too.
Right. Yeah. And your local pro shop. I gotta give them a shout out, because my kids got to know the skate sharpening guy.
Right.
And he knew exactly how to cut they didn't even have to say anything, because they knew exactly what cut worked for them. And take time to learn about it. They love educating parents about
I talked about logic. I talked about logic. You wouldn't drive your car with bigger wheels in the front than the back. You wouldn't drive your car with lopsided tires. You go to someone and say, hey, this doesn't feel right. But sometimes logic goes out the window. But Riley, you're just making fantastic points about recognizing that. And then, Mike, you made a fantastic point about at the youth level is the time to check it out, right? And Mike, I love that suggestion about, especially in the small area, of there should be a skating area where maybe you're not working just on skating, but let's look at your like ankle flexion. Let's look at your just stance, and let's work on slow strides.
I mean, like we do this all the time where we want to expose something, whether it's skating, whether it's the way you're shooting, whether it's where your hands are. If you could take that with a 10-year-old, we even do it with 15, 16-year-olds. If I'm in a station and I have like 4 or 5 kids, it's so much easier for me to teach than if I'm just running the 15 kids through drills. I'm like, I don't have time to talk to them. Like there's zero way for me to extract them from the skill. Like I can't just stop them.
Well,
So let's put a
this is the hockey director's job, is to make sure that they're at least providing the education to the coaches at a youth level to make sure that they can provide that to their kids. And I think that that's a serious part of the job. Now, I do want to ask this too, Riley. So again, I can hear our audience because I talk to them all the time in person. This is all great. All this stuff's great. My kid rolls his eyes or her eyes every time we have to work on skating. They don't find a lot of fun in it. So this is actually going to be a two-part question because I want to relate it to professional athletes too. I think one of the most underdeveloped, underestimated aspects of development is a yearning to learn. Okay. And I think that is something that actually, as coaches and parents, we can help cultivate a little bit. So I want you to talk about two things. The professional athletes yearning to learn. It's insanely competitive. I want the kids listening to hear about that because that's something you can do at a young age. And then also, how can coaches or youth hockey, in your opinion, bring that joy to this aspect? Because here's the deal. If it's not fun, it's not going to last, right? The hockey has to be fun. Games are fun, everything. Talk about the competitive level of knowledge from a pro athlete and then how we can apply that to youth athletes.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is the pro athlete understands what he needs to work on. And there might be one or two things. I always like using like Bobby Brink and Tyson Forcer as like examples because those are guys that I had come in when I was coaching the Phantoms, and their number one thing when they came in was when Tyson was drafted was that he wasn't that good of a skater. When Bobby Brink came in, I don't know, he's not that good of a skater. And I kind of took that on as like my mission. I'm going to help these kids become better skaters because I want them to play for the Flyers one day. And over that time, just going in the summertime, working with Brinker and working with Tyson on their skating, their edge work. But then they start to realize I'm getting better. Like they start to feel it. They're like, oh man, when I cut back on that guy, just understanding his edges and how his body works, he's like, I didn't fall down. I had my feet under me. I got away from him. I like exploded out with speed. So then they want more. They're like, hey, can we do that? What we did? Can we do that again? And now every day I'm like back on the ice with them, back on the ice, continuing to do that. And now did Tyson, if you had Tyson on here and you asked Tyson, hey, Tyson, did you work on your skating when you were 10 and 11? Maybe he didn't. But now he's starting to realize, all the skills got him to a certain point, but what was going to take him further to, score back-to-back 20-goal seasons right now for the Flyers. And I'm hoping more. Maybe he gets 30, 35 I'm pushing for. But, like, the skating's going to allow him to do that.
Right.
Bobby Brink being a smaller player, he has to be a good skater. He has to be able to get in and out of the corners quick so the big D-men don't wrap him up and hit him against the boards. Your body can't take that wear and tear at his size. But so he has to be good on his edges. You see Bob, he does a lot of the 10 and 2 as he goes around the rink to try and like maneuver his body away from getting hit all the time. And he's very good at it. Some people can't do it. He's really good at that.
Just do me a favor. Explain what that is for the audience real quick, because they might not be familiar with that term. The 10.
Yeah, just when your heels go together, and then you're just working on your inside edges as you're pushing around the rink, and your chest and your face is open to the middle of the rink, so you can see the whole play. A lot of people call it the Crosby. So I think he did that against Ottawa in 2006 maybe or something like that. But like I think that's kind of where it stems from. But Bob's really, really good at it. He does it a ton. He does it on zone entries. He does it coming out of corners, all that type of stuff. And then I think when they want it and they see it work, they come back and they're like, hey, I want to work on that more.
Right.
Now for a kid who goes out there, even my son, where my focus is skating, my mom's focus is skating, and he's like, talk about the ultimate eye roll is coming from him. So what I did was there's this program in figure skating. It's called Annie's Edges, and Annie's Edges is a beat. And it starts off with like boom, 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 or, however it may go. I should bring it up on my phone so you guys could hear it. But so I do, when I figure skated, my mom would always have us do crossovers. So you do crossovers, and every single time the beat hits, that's your stride count. So it teaches you how to hold your glide and then to push. So you're pushing, gliding, pushing, but then the beats get quicker. And that's where the kids get it, right? They're like, and they're like kind of running on the ice, and then they fall down, and whatever. Then they get up, and then the beat starts over again. So now something that they're like, oh my God, we're skating again. Now I have music playing. So now music takes that boredom away from them. So a lot of times out at my son's practices, I always play music. Music's on all like at a low level, but it kind of like they hear a song, you can see them dancing in the line a little bit, and like it keeps them engaged in that way. I think a lot of parents, and I have a hard time processing it too, is like these kids go to school from like 8 till 4 o'clock, and then they ride home, and then they get home and they have to do some homework, and they're doing this, and then we practice at 6:45. So we get out of there at 8:15. Now a lot of kids, they're like at 7:30, they're cooked. Like take me home, put me in the wrapper, I'm ready for bed. And that's where that music kind of keeps them engaged a little bit. And even I see some of our parents, they're always dancing in the crowd too, if you get a song going on. So, but that's kind of what I try and encourage the kids is like that music aspect of it.
I love that.
Hear the beat, the rhythm, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of that.
If you come to my practices, you'll see that all the time. We talk about, rhythm. It's all about hitting, like it's just dancing. All you're doing is ballet on ice, right? And I think the more the kids stop thinking, you got to do an inside edge and you got to hold your weight. If you're just dancing and you find the right beat for a kid, there's so many cool things you can do because like in hockey, it's all cadence. It's all this, when you go this way, you have to go this way, and then you have to go this way, be able to turn and pivot. And when you're doing it in a dance and you're letting the kids just have fun and being able to rhythm really changes the way they learn because they're taken away from the instructional piece and more into like the free skate piece. That's why you start seeing, like, I watch kids all the time that play for me at the youth level, and I watch them like at free disco night or the Friday night skate. I'm like, my God, that kid's a good skater. Like I never see that. Like where's that skating in our game? Because it's just freedom of skating and the rhythm of the music.
And I'm thinking about it.
It becomes play. One of my favorite videos online from like it was last year was it was a hockey game and YMCA is playing between stoppages. Right. And even the ref, like it was a fun moment. They all started doing the YMCA before the face-off. They even held the face-off off for a second, and everyone had a good time. I love the idea of playing music. Again, back to the elementary team, we practice at 4 p.m. on a Friday, and it's like, why aren't they paying attention? Because it's 4 p.m. on a Friday, all right? And they've been through school. You got to make those practices a little more fun, but you also have to have a plan. Again, going back to the handball game. I've never seen the kids skate so hard. It's because now it's not instructional so much, it's play, right? And look, it's got to be a balance. It's got to be a balance. And I think that not every drill is going to be super fun and not every drill is going to be super hard, right? You just got to find that balance in between. Riley, just because we're getting short on time here, I do want to ask this question. I always love to give actionable items. We all do to the audience, right? We talked before about how there is no path. You talked about a lot of the positives of that path. I'm wondering if you could talk about maybe some of the red flags that you see really of kids trying to make the next level, whether that's the AA, AAA, NCAA, junior hockey. In your journey, you said it, you've seen a lot of different hockey players. Are there things that you've picked out of, that's going to kill your career, or that's going to kill your love for the game?
Yeah, I would say seeing it more now at the 10-year-old, 11-year-old level is players chasing, or I don't know if the player or the parent so much is like chasing the My Hockey rankings.
Oh man,
this team is in the top 10. I have to go play on that team. Like if I went and got all the best players from around the area and I put a team together, like I could have my daughter who doesn't like hockey at all probably coach the team. Like they're all the best 10-year-olds, so they're probably going to win. Now, if what I think they should chase though is the coaching. If your team isn't that good, you don't win every game. And I tell a lot to the parents on the kids that I coach here is I don't care if we win and I don't care if we lose. My main goal is to like work on skating, work on your stick handling, work on your shooting, learn how to play the game of hockey, learn how to do a breakout, learn how to forecheck, learn how to transition the puck and pass it. And when I'm done coaching your child and wherever they go to play next, and the coach talks about a forecheck, at least in their brain, they'll be like, oh, I know this. Or I'm going to back check through the middle of the rink, not along the boards. Or I'm going to go D to D on a transition. I have options. Like then all of a sudden, like that the coach who's now coaching your child, because I'm not going to coach them forever, they're going to be like, wow, look at this kid. He actually understands how to play the game of hockey. He just doesn't take it end to end every time. He moves the puck. And that's something I preach a ton of is the puck moves faster than anybody that's skating. So we have to move it and move it and move it. But I think the biggest red flag is the kid, when you look at their thing growing up, elite prospects or whatever, and they're on a team and then on a new team and then they're on a new team.
Right.
And they're constantly going. It just shows they have no, idea of like what it is to be dedicated to a team or show commitment to a team. They're always just searching and looking for the next best thing. And eventually, I think when scouts go out and watch, even at the pro levels or colleges, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
When they look and you've been on a new team or a new program 8 years in a row, like that's a big red flag. You know, so what are they going to do when they go to college? They're just going to 1 year, as soon as something goes bad, they hit the portal. I'm out of here. And then I'm out of here. And then I'm out of here. Like, no, you got to stay in there. You got to, like, if you're on the fourth line, then work more.
It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
You want the best player, but the best player sometimes went in 7 different programs. You're like, and it's like, well, I'm the one that's going to change it. Like, I'm the one that's going to establish that. So it's really not. It's just, I think it's endemic in our hockey society right now. That, you know, back in the day when you moved teams, it was kind of like a really red flag. Like it was kind of like a badge of honor if you could be with a program for 7 years. Like, oh my God, that player hasn't, he's still got the same helmet he had when he was 14 years old. He has that same helmet and shoulder pad, same uniform. But I think nowadays, like, these kids don't get that adversity piece. So unless you're the best of them, unless you're somebody who is uncuttable, like then that's most of us. Then you and I risk taking this player that may or may not be here for the next 8 months. And
look, I got to say it too, Mike. I got to throw this in there too. And Riley, you said this at the start of this question. Parents, they ask all 3 of us all the time, what team should I look at? What should I do? Look for the best coach.
Right.
Look for the best coaching. I recommend it all the time. I think it's safe to drop down a level if you know there's going to be a great coach at that level. Obviously, it's all situational. You know, where you're at in your hockey journey matters on that one. All right. But if you told me there's a AAA team that's playing everybody across the country, or there's a AA team or a B team that has an insanely good coach, I'm going to actually recommend you probably go to that coach.
Right.
All right. Again, not every time, but most times. Right.
Right.
We talk about this whole show is about hockey development. Find someone who's going to help you develop. Go ahead, Christy.
Wins and losses aren't always reflective of what's going on.
I'm going to tell a secret. Nobody cares. Like nobody cares. I don't think there's ever a pro meeting or a high level meeting. It's like, oh, your team won 27 games last year. You're on the team. You made it.
Yeah.
Like no one does that.
Kids and talk to the parents who say, my kid is such a better skater, such a better hockey player after having been coached by, so and so. So, do your homework, do your research, and chances are don't always look at what the scoreboard says, because you got to take a deeper dive and find out more about the coaching when you're picking out a team. I have a question for you, Riley, about slumps, because I just got this question from a hockey mom who's a little skittish about this season because they did so poorly last season. Her kid was in a slump, the team was in a slump, so she's a little apprehensive about this new season starting, and it's a fresh season. I try to tell her that anything can happen. But so how do you maintain positivity during slumps, and how do you get the kids to keep their energy level up when it seems like all the odds are stacked against them?
Yeah, I think, well, you have slumps in two different ways, I guess. Looking at this question is you'd have a slump at the youth hockey level where I think if you establish off of the start that I don't care how many points you get, I don't care how many wins or losses you have, we're going to focus on just becoming a better hockey player. Then the pressure of I need to score a goal today, and then you don't score, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I haven't scored, and then oh, we haven't won. But if you take that out of it and you're like, hey, look at this, you did a really good job on the forecheck today, or look how hard you back checked, that was really good, and you focus on little positives like that, not like, oh, you should have scored there. Oh, if you passed it to the kid over here, and if he would have scored, you would have had an assist. And then that kid's like, oh, if goes to his buddy the next day, if you would have scored, I would have gotten an assist, and then you create that instead of just being like, hey, when you don't have the puck, what are you doing to get the puck back? Look at you here. You did a great job tracking. You lifted his stick. You got the puck. This is awesome. Next clip or next little video thing that you're looking at with your child. Now, at the pro level, when you're in a slump, players coming in, he hasn't scored a goal in 5 games. When a player's shooting a puck or making plays, they start to get their target starts to go smaller and smaller and smaller. So when you're on fire, you shoot the puck, it might hit the goalie and bounce in the net, and you're like, everything's going in.
Right.
But now you shoot it, and then you're like picking this little corner. Then the corner gets smaller, and now you're missing the net. And the biggest thing talking to the player is like, I want you to just shoot the puck, and every time you shoot it, you're going to hit the net. And eventually it's like a rebound pops off. You get the rebound, you score. The rebound pops off, your buddy puts it in. All of a sudden you get an assist even or a goal. Your confidence just goes through the roof instantly. Like it's like you watch any player. A player who scores a goal or gets something in the first shift, watch them the rest of the game. Yeah. They're high stepping everywhere. They're pucks through their feet. They're doing this, doing that, things that you would never see. But it just kind of flows right into your game.
The hockey gods are on their side. I'll say to this too real quick. When I coach coaches, and I want to make sure people understand, I'm talking about youth sports right now, not pro sports. When I coach coaches, I always remind them, you can define winning in 100 different ways. If it's only the scoreboard, I think you're making a mistake. All right. Especially in youth sports, winning is development. Riley, as you said, you accomplished something. You made a great play. You're learning. At the pro level, wins and losses do matter. Okay. But you can find a lot of different wins there too. But I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like you got to win at the top level. The other thing I wanted to say, just kind of in closing, Riley, that you brought up, to all my youth coaches out there, right? Remember, you're not just coaching this year's team or this year's player. You're coaching who they're going to become next year and the year later. Riley talked about it so wonderfully with Bobby Brink and Forrester about this season and next season and the season after that. And I know as youth coaches, we don't always seem to have everyone for 4 or 5 years at a time, but you still need to coach them for the future, right? And I love telling the story about the team I coached last year, AA team. We didn't win a lot of games. These kids work so hard, and they're all succeeding this season, and I'm not coaching any of them. And I love that for them, right? Because we really put an emphasis on, we're really coaching these squirts to be great peewees next year, right? Yep. You got to have that macro view as a coach. If it's only about wins and losses at youth sports, any sport, I'm telling you, you're doing a disservice to those kids. All right. Winning is great. Winning is awesome in terms of championships, but the biggest win is those kids getting better. All right. This is not campy to me. I take this really seriously. All right. And Riley gets paid to do it. All right. At the highest level. Riley, this has been a fantastic episode. You're a busy man. For those of you listening, the NHL season starts a couple days from when we're recording this. And Riley took some time out from his busy schedule to be here today. So we really appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank
Yeah,
you
no
so
problem. I
much.
appreciate it, guys. Thanks for doing the podcast. I think it's great for new families joining the sport. Always trying to grow the game as much as possible. So thanks for doing this. I think it's well known out there now. I've heard a lot about you guys, especially on the East Coast here, and growing. So
yeah, it means a lot.
I think it's great, and we need more of it. We need more kids to sign up and keep playing the game.
Well, Riley, tell
Thank
your
you.
friends. Tell your friends to come on the show. You've got powerful friends now. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Riley Armstrong, fantastic guest. For Christy Casciano Burns, for Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias. Remember, email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. If you have any questions about your coaching development, your development, hockey in general, we'll take them. Or click the link accompanying this episode in the show notes, and you can text us directly anything you want to hear about. All right, have a great one, everybody. Skate on, have fun, and we'll see you in the next Our Kids Play Hockey. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.